So it looks pretty cool, but what's actually going on here? Well, what happens is when that 400,000 volts of electricity moves through the air, it makes the air get really hot. So the air actually gets heated up to about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that happens, the air glows, because it's really hot. Now when you make things really hot, you give them more energy, so they move. So the air expands really fast, faster than the speed of sound, making little tiny sonic booms that you hear as the crackling. When that happens out in nature, you actually hear it as thunder. That's the same thing, the air expanding really fast. So you're seeing the air glowing, you're hearing the air expanding really fast, but what's actually happening here that's important? That's not important. What's important is that we're sending electricity through the air in another way. You can't see it, but there's actually an invisible electromagnetic field traveling outward in every direction from the top of this machine. That sign on the other side of the glass, that's a neon sign. It's not plugged into the wall, it has no batteries, all that it has is a tiny little antenna. And when I fire off this machine and push the button, that electromagnetic field travels through the air, hits the antenna, and actually lights up the sign completely wirelessly. So it's pretty cool that wireless electricity is actually reality and has been for over 100 years, so why don't we use it? Nikola Tesla probably envisioned a world in 2013 where everything would be powered by wireless electricity. That obviously isn't the case. We still use wires to get electricity from power plants and turbines and whatever else to our houses. The reason for that is that there are a ton of problems with this type of electricity. First of all, it's really loud, and it's very inefficient. These things would have to be hundreds of feet tall. They'd have to be on every other city block. They'd be going off 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and as they went off everywhere, any electronic equipment or devices that you got within the field of it that weren't built to use it specifically would pretty much be ruined. Now that's kind of just inconvenient for phones and cameras and stuff. It's actually dangerous for things like pacemakers, right? Now in addition to that, this machine breaks down the air. It splits the oxygen that we breathe in. That oxygen goes and recombines with other stuff and makes something called ozone. Ozone's really bad to breathe, so having these things making it all over the place would be really bad for us. On top of all that, you can't really meter this electricity, and that means you can't really tell how much people are taking from you, so it's very difficult to charge anyone for it. For that reason, the electric companies never really got too invested in it because they couldn't make money off it. So there are a lot of reasons why we don't actually use this technology today, but it does work. You can send electricity through the air, you can also send it through the ground. So a lot of people that see this thing ask why we have it, what it has to do with astronomy. It has nothing really to do with astronomy, but it's pretty cool. We're keeping it. It was given to us a long time ago, and this actually was a machine that was probably seen by Nikola Tesla. He didn't own this one or build it or anything like that, but it was one of two coils that was demonstrated in Madison Square Garden together. And when they would have been set off, there would have been giant bolts that leapt between the two Tesla coils. There would have been millions of volts of electricity, and usually in that demonstration, someone would be sitting underneath that giant arc, and they'd be completely unharmed. Now you could actually go stand right inside this thing, and you'd be fine too. That cage that you see, that metal box, that's called a Faraday cage, and what it does is it keeps the current from existing outside of it so that your stuff's okay. All of your equipment that you carry around, the stuff that we pay a lot of money for and love so dearly. But you'd actually be completely fine without that cage. The reason for that is that when we get the voltage and we take it really high, like 400,000 volts of electricity, to do that, we have to take the other part of the electricity. There's two parts to it. And that's called the amperage, and that's the dangerous part of the electricity. We have to take that and we have to make it really low. So when this electric field hits you, instead of traveling through your body and doing all kinds of horrible stuff, which is what lightning does when it hits you, it travels through your body, This machine puts out a field that would actually travel harmlessly over the surface of your body, and that's why you could sit inside there, you could sit underneath it while it got fired off, and you'd be completely fine. These machines never are really used for anything other than cool demonstrations. For a while back in the day, they were marketed as like medical devices. You could buy miniature versions of them at the 5 and dime store, like the old equivalent of a Walmart or something like that, or a Rite Aid or CVS. And what would happen is they would come with different attachments, and they would supposedly cure diseases and skin blemishes and all kinds of stuff. And you would plug it in and put it on your skin and rub it around and think it was doing something. But it wasn't. It wasn't doing anything. And so people stopped selling them for that purpose because people realized that it didn't do anything at all. We'll fire it up one more time, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, it gets really hot and sometimes explodes into flames if we fire it off too much, so we'll probably stop firing it off after that.